There you go. Before I spend too much time introducing you, we have rules here, and you must play by these rules, brother. So let them know who you is, where you from, and what you rep. Player.
Yo, my name is Motive16, and I'm from Miami-Dade County. You know, I've been repping for a minute now. We was a part of My Control back in the day. My Control was a little gem if anybody knew about it, because it didn't make too much noise, but the noise it made, people liked. And me and you, we rocked a few crowds together, man, back in the day. You put us down some crowd control knowledge when we was just some young cats, just spinning some bars with 16s. And it was a definite different time back then. Back then it wasn't about the posts, it wasn't about social media. It was about getting out there and just getting the real culture experience that I feel like is lacking, especially this last year.
Yeah, man.
But we'll get into that. But we definitely got down, just me and Kenai. Kenai's always been a part of it. Zenzu, he goes by Zenzu now.
Salute Zenzu Beats.
Zenzu Beats, man. He's basically the one that produced the whole album, except a few tracks that I threw in there from a producer called Dirty Dice. And everybody should know some Dirty Dice, because let me tell you, man, that guy's got some skills. And a big little kind of story between how we met Dirty Dice is crazy back in the day. I don't know who knows this, but I'm gonna drop a crazy name. C Peso. Rest in peace, I believe, too, man. C Peso. Yeah, man, C Peso. He used to have a little podcast back in the day, man. Back in the day. I can't hear you. What are you saying?
No. I was drinking a beer. Don't worry about it. Go ahead. go. You're good.
Oh, yeah. We were doing before we were even My Control, man. We came in the scene and we were just hungry. We are just spitting over beats and just trying to get out there and see Peso. Actually, this was around the time when like Recognize dropped. I think it was his first project, right? I think it was like the mixtape that he dropped.
Which one on South? I think
it was like The Waiting Room.
The Waiting Room, right?
The Waiting Room. Yeah, The Waiting Room. And like we didn't know that there was such a crazy hip hop scene back in the day, because you just hear what you hear on the radio, but then you get out there and you start meeting all these people and you're like, damn, this scene is crazy. There's a lot of people, especially there's so many people that have came out of Miami that have not gotten enough shine, but we always used to basically get together in like these crazy spots, like how we got together with C Peso in his podcast in his house. Lady J used to do the podcast with him.
Wow, Lady J from freaking WVUM.
Yeah, they used to do this thing called Across the Pond, right? And there was this producer called Diverse Concept, and Diverse Concept is Dirty Dice's friend, and he used to send us beats. And the first track we ever really made, like seriously, was called Ruthless, and that track was pretty dope. And that track made some noise, and eventually from there, just one thing came another. We actually met up through just posting things. It was back in the day, like MySpace music, man.
Yes, that's where I first heard of you, man. And it's funny that you say that that we met in an age where we were more out in the scene and living the culture, as opposed to now on social media. But really, the way that I came across Mind Control was on MySpace. And what surprised me was that, first of all, you guys were from Miami. Second of all, you guys were repping Kendall. And third of all, you guys were fucking dope as fuck. And I hadn't seen you out in the scene anywhere. You weren't out at like the ciphers and signing up for the battles that we were doing at the time. And also when you guys came out, I had taken like a 5-year hiatus, right? 5 or 4 years. So when I came back on, I started seeing everybody building on MySpace, and I heard you cats, and I'm here like, who are these cats? Because that was always surprising to me, because you think being in the community and part of the scene that these cats in the cypher that I see all the time, these are the cats that are going to come out and make noise. These cats that I see performing or signing up for the battles, these are the cats that I know are going to pop off, because those are the ones that you see and you're interacting with. But then when somebody who you haven't seen out in the scene there doesn't come out with some rinky-dink garbage toy sounding hip-hop, but comes out with some quality shit like you and freaking and Keen I were coming out with. The beats were fucking quality. The rhymes were fucking sick as hell. Your writing was fucking top tier. And I was there like, where have these cats, what dojo are these cats studying in? Is there another pocket of MCs that I don't know about? And that shit intrigued me, man. And you were down with you did some work with Serum back in the day, right? Because I know Serum freaking vouched for you. I hollered at Serum like, yo, you heard of these mind control cats? He's like, yeah, Motive is fucking dope, man. And he showed you love from the get go. And because of that, whatever, I reached out and we recorded a track together that's on my Spillage album. Tell us a little bit about how'd you meet Kenai? And for everybody who didn't catch it, Kenai is the indelible, the freaking famous Sinzu 305 Sinzu Beats. He's one of our biggest supporters here, Listeners Weekly, and one of the providers of our production for Kendalia mixtape. So how did you and Kenai freaking first meet up, bro?
Nah, man, those stories, let me tell you, man, we could sit here for hours, but back in the day, there's a neighborhood, it's on 88th Street on 147, you know, shout out to the whole 88th Street 152 crew, everybody, you know, because this is a real thing around.
So which neighborhood?
You know, a lot of
the courts, freaking, what's across the street from the courts? Hold on, Promenade, right? Or freaking the Walgreens is there, and then across the street from there is the lake next to. So which complex?
Panache, and you know, it wasn't just. That's just where we rested our heads. But man, let me tell you, we were some foot soldiers back in the day. We used to troop it out. It was different, you know, because back then it was like, again, you didn't really have somewhere like, oh, this is popping because it's online. Like you used to have to, you know, get the jump on parties and stuff like that. And as much as you wanted to avoid trouble, you just walking on the neighborhood, people just, you know, pulled up on their car and fucked with you because you was wearing like the wrong color, or you were, you know, like fucking with this girl or doing something that you weren't supposed to be doing. And, you know, it was like inevitable to get in trouble. But the story of how we
Mowgli knows nothing about that.
It was just in the neighborhood. the neighborhood that we met in, and I met there, like my whole crew who really, you know, like straight up put me onto hip hop, man. My boy MIC, shout out to MIC. I know he's in the building watching. Without him, let me tell you, I'd be listening to some fucking whack ass hip hop. You know, you gotta meet your people that put you on. You gotta pay due, because nobody fucking hears that shit out of nowhere. You know, everybody's got somebody that put them on. You know, big shout out to my boy MIC, because I was listening to fucking Tupac and Biggie, and he was like, yo, check out this Dead Prez. You know what I mean? You know, check out this Jedi Mind Trick. You know what I mean? Check out, you know, fucking some old school EPMD. You know, like, don't just fucking hear the radio. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much dope shit, you know? And everybody goes to their favorite. Like, everybody basically adapts to what they like, and that's what you produce, you know? Like, as your first brain of rhymes, it was never you. It was always like who you adapted to. And, you know, I went through my phases where it was hella funny, you know? I like fucking G-Unit, and I liked, you know what I mean? Like those metaphors and like that gun bar playing shit. You know, that shit never really stuck. But, you know, if it wasn't for some people in my life, you never know, I'd probably still be doing some dumb shit like that, because, you know, those people open perspective, and, you know, they shed a little bit of light on what other, you know, not just subgenres, but, you know, some rock and some fucking, you know, fucking Rage Against the Machine, and, you know what I mean, some Pink Floyd. And, you know, shout out to Zenzu again, because he always pushes that on me. He's like, yo, stop listening to so much hip hop. You know what I mean? Listen to some fucking real music. And that shit, you know, I'm not saying hip hop isn't real, you know, but like on some real composing, you know, like writing out the sheet music and shit like that. You know, you gotta listen to shit like that. That's just real, and it really inspires.
I will always say, man, that I can respect the fuck out of a young kid who sets his mind to learning an instrument and gets to the point where he's playing in a band. Or some of these fucking crazy ass motherfuckers. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of FKJ, a French kiwi juice. You ever heard of him? You fuck with him? Check out FKJ if you ever get a chance. He's got a couple of freaking bangers out there. But the dude is no, he's not hip hop. That's why he's a modern day jazz musician. He's an instrumentalist that plays every instrument, but with a loop synthesizer. So he'll put on a whole show with just instruments behind him, and he'll just pick him up the saxophone and he'll play a bit and he'll loop it and he just composes those songs. Fucking crazy. So cats like that, dog. We find writing a dope verse, freaking Go ahead.
Hopkins, you remember Clutchy Hopkins reminds me of something like that. Like it's just, people that innovate shit. Clutchy used to just find like different things in the house and make beats out of that shit, and that's just crazy.
That's something
like, I love him.
Yes, man, that's something that I have a huge respect for, because we write rhymes. A producer, like whatever, back in the days would just find a loop and freaking throw some drums on it. And if you you find a way of chopping it. Those that we revere find ways of chopping it. But bro, you can't take away from somebody who learns how to master an instrument and make music come out of that. That shit is fucking a whole other thing. And then when they get together and they can just jam, improvise right there, and you know your instrument well enough where you're just jamming, bro, anybody who's in a rock band, anybody who plays an instrument gets mad more freaking respect from me, props to me, than somebody who says I'm an MC. Honestly, bro, anybody now could freaking rap and put a fucking verse together, dog.
I'm very, into the debate that if you could read music and write it, you're fucking extremely book talented and good for you. But if you could play music out, then that's fucking amazing as well. So, to each his own. And, do both, then that's where the talent is. And unfortunately, me, I'm too lazy.
That's
I'm like real honest. Because I can play out a song. Like I would sit there until I know it. Like I've literally done it, just sat there for maybe like 5-6 hours until I play the song out on the piano. But I've never pushed that limit of myself to be like, oh, let me see if I could produce or anything. Because like, I kind of know my limitations. Right. Maybe in the future, you never know. I can play out songs on the piano, and I feel like that rhythm, it has to naturally be there, not through just a piano or a guitar or drums, but like, just naturally freestyling too, it's like all rhythm based,
Yeah. No, you have to feel that shit. It's got to be on another level. And that's why people who are destrict like that, bro, they get freaking all salutes from me. You and Kenai put out a project as Mind Control. Since then, we haven't heard much from both of you guys. You guys took a step back and did family thing, did life thing. And a lot of times, especially in our genre, when you take some time off and you're away from the scene for a while, people are quick to forget you. In hip hop, especially in local community hip hop, and in a state Florida scene like in a scene like Florida, if you ain't putting out shit constantly, people forget you ever did stuff and think you fell off. But as Sinzu has proven with the beats he's dropped, with the verses he dropped for the freaking Kendall versus Hialeah freestyles, as you've proven with the verses and singles you've dropped and this album you've dropped, you guys haven't missed a step, man. Tell us about the process that you've been in coming to this point, to where, because I sat down with you last week and you showed me about 3 projects worth of stuff, full-length albums worth of stuff. So you're sitting on mad fire, man. Tell us about that process of freaking what's built up to the point of now that you said, yeah, I'm ready to freaking start coming out with shit again.
It's everything's a full circle, man. Everything's a full circle. And, just because I know we ramble on so much. So to go back on how me and Key met, we were just neighborhood kids, man, doing some dumb shit, man, like real dumb shit that could have really got us in trouble. And we were really lucky, man. Really, really lucky that, like we had parents that cared. If we didn't have no parents that cared, we wouldn't be here, man. I'm gonna just be honest, like we had parents that cared, and that got us through it all. And, that set the example, like we were just bullshitting. And, like we each went our own way, actually, like we always kept in touch. It wasn't awesome, like, Mind Control broke up or nothing. No, we just know, what, we got to do something else, because back then you didn't have to budget either. Again, it was all just like, whoever you was able to get support from, you got it from. But, back then we were young. We were like 18, 19, we were still, some of us going to college, some not, some hustling, some doing this and that. So we didn't have the time to really dedicate to production, getting, equipment, getting a mic, like setting up your own booth, so all that honestly didn't follow through. Like Mind Control never even made an album. We had so much written and ready to record, but we didn't really have the money to pay studio time. Like we had shit to do, like, and that comes full circle because we all went, did our shit, I actually, man, I went to like 5 different states, I lived in Colorado for some time. I was in fucking California for some time. I was in fucking back and forth missions, if you know California and the Oregon trips and all that shit, then you know what's the deal. So, I was doing that for a minute, and it just got to the point where I was like, what am I doing? Because if you're out there and, if you know the whole hustle and the Cali hustle, like that shit will really get you, man. Like, and, like I came into a few close calls, like with the fires out there. And that shit was just like, yo, I'm not losing my life for this shit, And like, not just fires, but like other dumb shit. And, that brought me back to Miami. And when I came back to Miami, I met my fiance, which I'm engaged to right now. And she kind of like, turned me inside out. Like, it was more like, get your shit together. I started working. I started really, focusing on my career. And so was Zenzu. Zenzu's married now. And I feel like, again, it's all 360 because, where he ended up living was Denver, Colorado, right when I was living in Colorado Springs. So it's all full. It doesn't fucking happen for no reason. And I left and I came here, but he stayed because he's working out there. And he started producing out of nowhere because of the quarantine. So the quarantine, and he's always had like that, yo, I know I could produce, man. I know I could produce. But, a lot of people say that shit, but I don't put nothing past that dude. Like I sent you some of the tracks right now because I want you to, play it so the people can hear what My Control is about, because I seriously believe that if he wanted to, yo, he can fucking like really be a successful, artist, because that guy's brain just works differently. I don't know if it's from all the acid he's always done and he's just fucking crazy from that, but he's really talented, and that made me always push my limit. And now when he started producing, I was just like, there's no excuses, because before it was like,
we didn't have beats.
All right, you don't have the beats, you don't have the production, and you don't have the fucking studio time, and you don't have the time. But now I started working from home, and I had a studio at home because I had, a little more budget. You grow up, you get into your big man shit, you're not a little kid no more, and you're just like, I want to make music. Why not? Let me make some music. And one thing came to the other. So how Waste Management came to be was because during that whole time, I never stopped writing, during all those times where, like nights where it was like, fucking for real, like it says it in the rhymes, sleeping in fucking rental cars, just shit that, you look back and you're like, why were you doing that? But throughout the whole time, I wrote rhymes on the fucking planes. I wrote rhymes in the fucking cars. I wrote rhymes at night. I wrote rhymes when I couldn't sleep. I wrote rhymes therapeutically, on fucking hills in California, and the fucking places that you just, never thought you'd be during these missions. And what held me down was always writing, it was like always writing. And release day was like, I think written around the time where I was ready to just say, fuck all this, man. Like, I'm just ready to go back home. So it's kind of like a weird, like, you wrote release date when you were ready to go back because you're ready to go back. But I never knew it was going to be a song on Waste Management, because Waste Management, seriously, a collection of all that. And, to shine a light on it, I'm Italian American by my dad's side, and I was born in Colombia. So shout out to my Colombian people, to all my Latin people.
So you all mobbed up fucking on both sides, dog. You fucking fucking Colombian, freaking Italian. God damn, dog.
You search for identity through it all too, like a lot of people, they rap, but sometimes you don't have an identity, so that's why I really, really like a lot of cats that can like really identify who they are, like Serum's like one of those guys I look up to. Shout out to him. And there's a lot of new cats out here that like, I'm like, yo, like these guys really have an identity. Like they know what they're doing, I feel like I always lack that. I feel like I always just do that rap, like, I'm just like, I know how to rap, so you got to find your identity and know if it's marketable and know if it's, something that's feasible to the ears. So I feel like the angle I came on Waste Management, again, it's all full circle. The track Universal Law, it all comes into play, like you set something into fucking motion and you don't even know, but subconsciously it comes back around, you know, and it comes back around. And it came back around in a time in my life where I wasn't expecting it. But when I did finally start putting the projects together, I started writing more, you know, and as I started writing more, I started seeing a little evolution. So I was like, yeah, I don't really like these tracks, you know? But like people that I was showing them to, people are like, nah, man, like these tracks, you know, like people have to hear this, you know? I'm like, yo, I've never dropped a fucking, you know, project. You know, I've been here for a while and this is my first album, believe it or not. And
Bro,
I'm really
for you to say that,
half.
Go ahead.
It's not that it's a bad album. Like the vibe is just I'm late to the party because I've had those rhymes in my head for years, you know. So like it's easy for someone who's new hearing it to give it a judge, but for me, those are tracks that I would have just thrown away. But I felt like they needed to make surface.
For you to say that Waste Management is an album of your throwaways, dog, and it's a perfect metaphor for waste management. Fucking the garbage, your garbage bars and shit, dog. I just played the intro, and I just played Odds to Riches, right? And the crowd was losing their fucking heads over that shit. I love that fucking album, man. I've been banging that shit since it dropped on fucking Sunday. That shit is fucking tight from beginning to end, man. And go ahead.
I really appreciate that, man. You know that your words mean a lot to me, and thanks to everybody supporting, man. You know, like it's real hard. You know, I work a 9 to 5 and some, and it's real tough. That shit was supposed to drop, you know, fucking embarrassingly, October of last year, and yeah, I slept on it because just life, you know. So you know, I mix and master the whole thing myself off of equipment that, you know, definitely needs upgrading. So the material that's going to be coming out in the future is going to be definitely more material to look forward to. But I'm not saying that Waste Management isn't that, you know. I know Jay Dilla and, you know, MF Doom and all these people, like, yo, they recorded off such cheap material, you know, that, you know, it was an inspiration for me to just be like, yo, you know what? I don't need all this expensive equipment to just release something, you know, but I'm still a perfectionist. And if it's not perfect to me, I don't feel comfortable releasing it. So like I had to find a balance, you know. It was something that project was supposed to be, again, something different too. It was like I was trying to come up with something like very like mob related and very heavy. But I feel like that's not me, you know. Like I'm not saying I'm a mobster or any mafia in that, you know. I'm just saying that the relation of Italian American culture and, you know, the influence of how, you know, they conducted their criminal organizations is still an example and a blueprint for nowadays to how people, you know, run their cartels and how, you know, the fucking gangs run here, you know, from the BDs to the fucking, you know, to everybody, you know, the vice lords, all of them, they run their sets the same way, you know. They all got people they go through and nobody fucking says nothing. And if you do, you already know it's universal law, you know, it comes back around. So, you know, that's a way of me that I can relate and make it relate to people, because, you know, I'm not a very, and if you listen to My Control from back in the day, like I was a very aggressive rapper back then, you know, like now I've slowed down. I feel like I've slowed down because, you know, my mind has slowed down too and I've evolved. So it's been more of a mix of styles, you know, like I'm able to mix my style now and I'm able to adapt more, but not sacrifice who I am. So like that's the identity of it all.
Word.
And finding my identity was real important.
Sorry to interject, brother. When you guys did music together as Mind Control, I remember listening to it, and I remember thinking, yo, this is influenced by Dead Prez. This has that freaking revolutionary sound to it, and their lyrics on that shit. And then when you came down and sat with me last week and showed me Waste Management, and you presented it to me with the whole backstory of your descendants being Colombian and Italian, and I remember thinking, because me, especially now when I'm recording new singles, I always think, how's it gonna sound in today's market, in today's underground market, and today's underground market is flooded by drug talk, street talk, organized crime talk, metaphors of flipping and stuff. but it's all from people that are talking about Italian mob families or the Latin American plug, right? That don't have any ties on it. They're talking about it from a third person point of view, but you bring it from a side and you give it that tie-in where it's both organized crime, the cartels, the mafia, and then you tie it in with everyday life, the life of just a hustler trying to move his music, trying to hustle to survive, whatever he's trying to sell. And you do package it really well, man. And I wanted to tell you that. I didn't tell you that night because you freaking gave me a bowl of freaking some crazy ass shit with some freaking gooey rosin on it that you lit with a Zelda freaking rope, and that shit left me freaking cross-eyed. I couldn't talk after that. But the whole story behind it, man, is real well thought out, and I want to freaking commend you on that because a lot of times as MCs, we might not think about that when it comes to putting together an album. We think we're putting together a bunch of songs, but that story behind it, that concept, that marketable brand behind it is important, man. And you package that right. And I want to encourage you, dog. You should freaking go on Genius, put up your lyrics, and make sure that you're in control of the story behind it, so that people are getting at least somewhere that backstory, because it's a dope backstory to it all, man. And I love what you do with the samples from The Sopranos, from all the mobster movies and stuff. The sample before the Odds to Riches from the what is that, A Bronx Tale?
That's from Goodfellas, man.
Is that from Goodfellas?
Oh, no, yeah.
That's no, it is Bronx Tale, right?
No,
it's a Bronx Tale.
Yeah, the Working Man's Kid is from the Bronx.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that movie is heavy, and you know, I grew up on that. I'm a '90s kid, man. I watched so much TV. I'm a TV junkie, and that's one of my biggest things that I have to let go of. And growing up, you just have to, you know, you can't just fucking sit by. And you know, just to interject, this is the magic rope he's talking about. Is this is called the hemp wick. You know, from all the years of smoking, I hit the bowl. You know, like I don't roll a blunt or a joint. I'll roll a joint if we're going somewhere and if we're like smoking, because no one wants to hit a bowl, you know, on a crowd. But if it's up to me, you know, it's all glass, and you know, I'm in the whole dabbing culture, and I love to hit rigs and rosin and you know, high exotic shit. So, you know, back to the TV addiction and the '90s, which shaped me. I think, you know, you see it, you hear it. You know, I'm just in the Wrong Channel song too, like. That's another, you know, big song for me. That's actually the video that it's not ready yet. I wish it was ready for the show, but again, you know,
we'll get you on Thursday,
but it'll be ready for tomorrow. Yeah, but the Wrong Channel is basically that, because you know, like, you know, I'm flipping like wrong channels, you know, because my whole life is that, you know, it's just like, you know, kind of like being high, you know, so that there's a connection. It's like sometimes you get high and you're just like, you're snapping, you're just one place, you snap and you're just in another. Like, I feel like that's my life, man. My life, a constant, like, oh shit, wrong channel, flip, wrong channel, flip, you know? So that's where I'm at with that. And let me tell you, I'm a Sopranos, like you told me, and it was kind of a shame, because whenever I hear this from anyone that's like, oh no, I've never seen the Sopranos, I'm just like, to me, it's like, you've never read the Bible.
How do you exist?
That's how I feel, like, you know? Yeah, you know, like, you don't, like, that's just my addiction. Like, I've seen that and I go watch it, and it just like brings like a comforting feeling, because I have a TV addiction, you know what I mean? Like that addiction that people get off of drinking and shit, that, like, I have that watching TV. So that, and certain shows, because I can't even watch like new shows. Like, I have to watch certain old shows. Like, it's the weirdest fucking thing. Shout out to Boardwalk Empire too, one of the fucking best shows ever too. That shit was amazing.
Another one I've never watched.
And come on,
dog, I'm gonna lose you as a viewer, dog.
Yeah, you know, there's so many movies out there and shit like that. I'm more encouraging people nowadays to just fucking read and, you know, fucking listen to music, because again, like, I don't even want to watch that much TV as I do. But yeah, the album is heavily influenced by that, and it's, you know, something that I think I'm always gonna, you know, have on my back and have on my sleeve. You know, just the whole Italian American culture. Like, that's just kind of who I am. You know, I look like a Guido too, you know. So
Yo, you look like freaking Italian Jesus right now, for real, dog. But I love the freaking soprano samples and how you tied everything in. Just so everybody knows out there, Tony Soprano always said he worked in waste management, right? And that was a big
Oh,
cover for the mob back in the days. They would worked in sanitation, and that's how freaking
yeah.
they always said they
Mission,
did.
no, the New York City by any means necessary, and they own the contracts for the architecture, and that's the whole concept behind Made in America. Made in America. It's because they can't build anymore around New York, so they build up. And who do you think gets those contracts? Now they've managed to edge it out, but a few years ago in the 80s and the 90s, they used to, straight up kill people for those contracts, for those building contracts. That's why it's always known and it's always popularized to have that, oh, they work in construction or they work, as butchers, because, the Italian American people, they were hardworking people, man. And it's crazy that there's so much. I wish we had more time to get into it, because people always, they think, oh, the mafia this, but, just like the Irish Americans helped, carve so much hard work, and, so much of the railroad was built by the Chinese, and like there's so much of culture that people don't know, but then they stereotype into what you see in TV, and you see in TV and you're like, oh, they don't contribute to society, but they do. And not just in society in the way that they do the jobs nobody else wants to do, but and just like, just like hip hop culture, like nobody wants to see us in the big positions, but they'll glorify our culture,
Word.
and like it's the same way, you glorify the criminal underworld, but you don't tell your kids to be like that, but you see it in the movies, you know what I mean, and other people live it. And The Sopranos, again, full circle. If you know what The Sopranos is about, The Sopranos isn't about the mafia. The Sopranos is about the psychological effects of criminology on the human mind,
Mm.
and that from a third person perspective, from just a perspective of, like not to be like, oh, I've done that and been there, but the effects of anxieties and the effects of what you see shapes who you are, and it shapes the decisions you make subconsciously. And that shit hit me so hard, because if you see just the first episode, I encourage anybody to watch it, because it's not about the mafia. It's not about it. Tony goes to a psychiatrist because he keeps passing out and he doesn't know why. What you mean? What do you mean you don't know why? It's you kill people for a living because you saw your dad kill people for a living, because you see shit that you're not supposed to see. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So the effects of what I grew up on have took me aside and been like, yo, these are the decisions you have to make instead of the decisions that your subconscious makes for you. So again, the ties of what I'm speaking in there, it goes over people's heads, because it's so much into what, again, it's not just a throwaway thing, but it's too deep. You know what I mean? Nowadays people need like 2 minutes or something and they'll give you like a listen, but they're not going to listen to a 14-track album that's conceptual. But you know what, you will. And I
Yeah,
know a
so
few heads in the album
yes,
out
man,
there will.
they will.
So
And
I
actually,
did it.
I think people are so used to freaking getting it like that they're tired of it. And when they find out that, hold on, there's a deeper story here, there's a deeper meaning, I think they'll dive in, man. And my bad, bro. I scheduled this for 30 minutes today to play a little bit more music, but I also want to play the Mind Control that you just sent me and freaking another joint off the album, if you don't mind.
That was,
Um,
yeah, listen, that's amazing stuff.
I freaking bump one right now, and I'm gonna play another one on Thursday. But I want to wrap it up with that because I think you culminated the whole message between waste around waste management perfectly in that last statement. How it is that you are just venting and expressing what the life you've lived, the ups and downs and the hustle has done to you mentally, and you're putting out there and throwing out that garbage and freaking dog, it's all freaking interlaced, man. And I love the fucking quadruple entendre you got going on there. Waste Management is the name of the album. Where can they find it, Motive?
Yo, Waste Management is on Bandcamp right now. It's on SoundCloud right now. You can find me on Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram and Facebook. I will be releasing it on all platforms soon, but there will be a lot more coming. And HO, thank you so much. You've held it down in the community for so many years, yo. People don't even know, but the people that do know, you know, we got to build more, and we got to, you know, strengthen this culture. And what you're doing with this, you know, with WVCC, man, this is amazing. I see this growing just like I see us growing. You know, thanks for having me on. Definitely, you know, I wish we had more time to talk.
Don't worry, man. I'm actually gonna hook you up.
Sit here forever.
I'm gonna actually hook you up with my boy Jax. He does Dirty 5 Live, the D Live series he does on IG and stuff. And I would love to have you freaking talk to him, man. What happened?
Yeah, I'm already doing that. Man, like I've met so much people on the show. I'll tell you, man, because I know you're so busy and shit, but I've met so many people on the show, man. Shout out to, you know,
that's what we are, baby.
Shout out to North, you know what I mean? Shout out to OG Skep, you know, shout out to Mowgli, shout out to, so many people, man. So many people that just, you know, have randomly showed support. And, you know, I know the music ain't perfect, man, but, you know, give your boy a listen and trust me, man, it's going to progress. It's going to get way better. And, you know, shit's just going to come along great, man.
Don't even talk.
Let's link. Let's all work together.
Don't even talk bad about the music, man, because the fucking album is top quality. This is also Motive16 that was on the Miami Christmas album that we did, dog. The Waterproof Christmas in Miami on the Mowgli North and Motive16 track, The Grinches of Christmas, dog. This is the dude who opens up the track and fucking killed that shit. One of my favorite verses on the whole album. Motive. Before I say bye, man, you know the rules. All you got to do is let them know your name and let them know you're rocking with WVCC. Safe Life. Let them know, brother.
Yo, this is Motive16, and I'm rocking with WVCC Radio. Safe Life.
Safe Life. Let them know, baby. Bye.